about scams. Every time a stranger hits you up online, like on WhatsApp, and they're trying to draw you into a conversation, that person is probably living in slavery. They're probably trapped in a high-security compound somewhere in Southeast Asia, and they're forced to run scams while they face torture. I'm Julian Lyons. I'm the host of Scam Lab, and in this new series, we're going to take you inside these compounds. This is a multi-part documentary podcast in which we'll follow the journeys of people who are kidnapped into scamming, the brutal torture they endure, and their rare instances of rescue. We'll also explore how Chinese organised crime has created this vast network of factory farms for human beings. That's Scammerland, right here on Apple Podcasts.
This is how US investing feels on stake. It's just fluid. You can tap into the world's biggest market on a platform that makes everything easier. Wall Street is effortless on stake. Get started on hellostake.com. Onwards. This is not financial advice.
Shellcard is making it their business to reward business owners. Sign up to Shellcard today, link your flybys, and collect 150,000 bonus flybys points when you fill up with 10,000 litres or more of Shell fuel at Ready Express in the first 6 months. How rewarding is that? For details, visit shell.com.au/fly promo. Eligible new Shellcard customers only. One flybys cardholder must be linked to a Shellcard account. Offer ends 35/25 and is redeemable once. Must quote fly promo on sign up. Excludes LPG and AdBlue purchase. T's apply.
Learning needs to work in the real world. That's why Swinburne Edge designs courses for your career now. Learn with industry-leading experts and apply your skills that day. Search Swinburne Edge today.
A controversial medical diagnosis.
Their convictions are based on science that has now been disavowed.
A baby taken.
She has not physically been present with her daughter for over 3 years.
We will ask, did the doctors, the police, the courts, and so many of New Zealand's state agencies get it wrong?
I feel really heartbroken. I already feel like I'm losing her.
Kia ora, I'm Melanie Reid, Newsroom's Investigations Editor. Welcome to the second season of our podcast, Fractured. This is episode 1, Difficult. I'm sitting here with my colleague Bonnie. in our Auckland studio, and we're going to start off by giving you a bit of a recap because there was a lot of information to process in season 1. As our listeners know, this is a complex case and there's quite a lot to keep up with. It's not just a story about what's happened, it's also a story about what's happening.
This is a live issue, so to speak. While our case is about Zita and Ravi here in New Zealand, the controversy around the misdiagnosis of child abuse is a hot topic right now throughout the world.
When you combine medicine and law and add to that what I always term the rolling files, decisions that roll from one agency to the next, it gets difficult, all right. But before we get back into all of that, we want to let you know what to expect in the second season of Fractured.
I think you're all going to find this case takes some surprising turns. For one, we certainly never imagined that we as journalists would end up doing some of the things we've done on this case.
We will also tell you all about the reports from our international medical experts. They're quite surprising. Here's a bit of an idea of what's to come.
So the skull lesion is not a fracture, so that is not abuse. It's congenital.
It's congenital.
Yes.
was present at birth.
You heard right. He's saying what the Starship experts have said is a fracture in baby K's skull is, according to him, not a fracture at all.
I am saying that this baby was, with most reasonable certainty, was injured, and I can tell you reasonably the moment when that becomes manifest to an experienced observer. And if I pointed out to you, you would recognize it.
It's on the tracings.
It's on the tracing.
Obvious.
It could not be more obvious.
So what do you think then when you consider that this woman's been in jail for 2.5 years?
Well, I moved to shed a tear. I moved to shed a tear. I can only tell you that this baby was injured during the time of labor and delivery and was subjected to extraordinary forces during that delivery.
Baby K has vitamin D deficiency, and when you rank it at 11 nanomolar, 50 nanomolar is insufficient. And you know, 11 nanomolar vitamin D, how is it's supposed to be 5 times that? It's like nothing. This is guaranteed vitamin D deficiency. It's severe. It's not mild, moderate, severe. It's very severe. And that very it's very severe. And the very number of fractures indicates a systemic problem with the skeleton. The number doesn't indicate more abuse.
There was 39 fractures.
The number indicates a systemic problem. The reasoning is wrong. The reasoning is wrong that more fractures, more abuse. More fractures, more likely to be metabolic. Fractures more likely to be metabolic. Because how do you hit a kid in 39 places? You buy a pixie hammer, and I'm being funny here with intent, and you somehow fracture all these bones, and then you don't leave a mark on the overlying skin. That's the second magical thinking. So I've given you what did not happen to baby K just now. The magical thinking of a pixie hammer. You can't do it with your fists thick of the bones of an 8-week-old. The fractures are too small. You do it with that hammer, pixie hammer, and then you leave not a mark on the overlying skin. That magical thinking leads to the divination of child abuse.
And as alluded to earlier when Bonnie said we'd done things, in this case, we hadn't ever imagined doing, well, we, along with Joris de Bres, have made an application to New Zealand's Criminal Cases Review Commission about Zita's case. The CCRC, as it's commonly referred to, reviews criminal convictions and has the power to refer cases back to the appeal court.
Here's former Human Rights and Race Relations Commissioner Joris de Bres talking about this.
I come back to the fact that we have to go right back to the conviction. Was this really a case of child abuse, or did it have other medical explanations? I think we have to find a way of getting a minister to keep them in New Zealand while their case is considered by the Criminal Case Review Commission and the courts. So I think it's only natural justice that, having raised these very important questions in terms of an appeal or an application for review, that they're able to remain here while it's considered. Because if this wasn't child abuse, and I believe it wasn't, then none of the other things would have happened.
The threat of deportation is ever present for this couple and seems to loom over this podcast.
It sure does. Now, though, to something quite a few listeners have raised with us. We're actually asked quite often, what was it that made us take on this case? It is, after all, a pretty risky kind of story, and it's about child abuse. It's difficult. And when we say difficult, we mean not only difficult for us to make and investigate, but also, it's not easy, or should I say, that comfortable a listen for our audience either.
I mean, we are talking about a mother being convicted based primarily on a medical hypothesis that's under fire. That hypothesis, shaken baby syndrome, is being and has been challenged around the world for a long time now.
And as we will show, once you've got that black mark of child abuse against your name, it's very hard, if not impossible, to reverse it.
And our story in this podcast centres around the esteemed medical establishment, the most revered children's hospital. So these big unwieldy stories are often put in the too hard basket, too complex, not to mention expensive and risky. But as many of our listeners know, Melanie has a long history of taking on tough cases. You went undercover at the Gloria Vale religious sect on the west coast of the South Island when you were in your, mid-20s? There's your decades of work on the Peter Ellis Christchurch civic crash case. You did an Aaron Brockovich on the Ivan Watkins Dow chemical plant in Paritutu. You've certainly covered all of the big murder cases in this country. Bain, Lundy, Oaks.
The list of stories is more a reflection of my age and how long I've been doing it. Anyway, as far as this case goes, back to this case, the answer as to why we took on the Fraction story lies in another major investigation Bonnie and I did back in 2019. It's called New Zealand's Own Taken Generation, and it's about the state uplifting of Māori babies from the birthing units. It was a watershed moment in this country. The story resulted in 4 major inquiries, including an urgent Waitangi tribunal hearing, immediate changes to our child protection policy, and the head of Oranga Tamariki, our child welfare agency, ended up stepping down. We're going to now play you the trailer of that investigation.
I just received a phone call. She was stressed, she was crying. We've come up to this baby. My view is that you cannot uplift. She's done nothing wrong.
I'm going to ask you both just to leave.
No, we don't trust them. How can I help you? Oranga Tamariki have arrived at the hospital.
There's an order there to uplift her, and that's what we're enforcing.
What's your baby? They're trying to make you give baby away. Don't hand your baby over to them.
This is just a complete fiasco.
They're coming back.
We've put the link to the video story in the show notes, and you can also hear the audio version published in our earlier bonus episode of Fractured called The Uplift.
But back to the point, during and after this story, we had a succession of people coming to us, telling us their children had also been taken off them because the doctors from Starship Hospital Child Abuse Unit Te Kura Ruruho thought they had abused them. Thought they had abused their kids when they were adamant they hadn't. There were so many similar. They hadn't. There were so many similar stories from a wide variety of people. At the time, we were too consumed with covering the uplift of babies to look into this issue. So a few years on, when we were alerted to Sita and Ravi's story, we knew this wasn't Ravi's story. We knew this wasn't a one-off. We'd heard these same sorts of stories. We'd heard these same sorts of stories multiple times.
But you need the time and space to do justice to these cases. They need to be forensically examined to establish how and why decisions are made by the authorities.
So, back to the point, we will get there eventually. How did we know to take on this case? Look,